I am losing my fantasy league here at Fantasy Blitz, and it's because I changed my draft strategy. Welcome to Fantasy Blitz. My name is Nick, no BS, just Blitz. And today, I got to be honest with you, this is a tough video because I changed things up on how I normally draft, and it has affected my performance this year in the Fantasy Blitz league. And it's been rough, okay? There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's rough. I'm currently, I think, 1-4, 2-4. We're going to get into here in a second, but it's not great. And it's because I strayed from the tried and true method that I have been doing for years because I was following the headlines. So boys and girls, fantasy football players of all ages and all skill levels, learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I did. Don't follow the trends. You got to stick with what you know. And here's how it will play out. We are halfway through the year. It's week 9. And holy smokes, my team is awful. But I have another team where I drafted in my normal cycle, and it came out a lot different. So let's get into that. Boom. Okay. So as we all know, this is my team, Fantasy Blitz Nick. Okay. Not going to lie. 2-6 is sad. Okay. I'm not going to make excuses. Not going to talk about points against and points for. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's sad. Here's my team, okay? There's been a lot of changes right now. Jared Goff, Damian Pierce, Amari DeMarcado, CeeDee Lamb, Stefon Diggs, Mark Andrews, Rashee Rice, Browns, Harrison Butker, T-Law as my backup, and Miles Sanders and Nico Collins. Roschon Johnson picked up. James Conner on IR. We're going to get back to that in a second because that's really like... That's where things get really weird because I drafted Roschon Johnson, or not Roschon Johnson, James Conner. You're going to see why. But normally what I do when I draft is I go running back, wide receiver, tight end, QB. Some years I go running back, wide receiver, tight end, QB. Depending on where I am in the draft order. But this year, there's so much hype around high-powered receivers that my draft strategy changed drastically. And I went wide receiver, running back, and that changed everything. Let's get into it. So here's how it changed everything. Here's my draft recap, okay? I had the last pick, which I actually kind of prefer. Either being first or last is great. I had last pick. Who did I get? I got CeeDee Lamb, which so far has been a fantastic pickup. Okay? I'm not going to lie. It's been pretty great. I got CeeDee Lamb. And then in the second round, back-to-back, Stefon Diggs. So far, this has been pretty darn good. Okay? But here's where it kind of came off the rails here. My round 3, I got James Conner. Okay? James Conner. Let's see if you can see that. James Conner, right there. Let me see if we can actually see the configure. Oh, I want to do this. Main comp. Capture the cursor. There we go. So, James Conner, I got him in the third round. This is where everything kind of fell apart because then I got Mark Andrews, which was still a solid grab, but pushing out my running back choice to the third round ended up being a disastrous move. After that, I went and I got Trevor Lawrence in the 5th round, which was a bad pick, and then even worse, Miles Sanders. So this is how your draft. I ended up getting DeAndre Swift, which I got rid of him for some stupid reason. Then I got Drake. I went high on Drake London. Very dumb in the 7th round. Very, very dumb. So this is kind of, the doom was set. Okay, the die had been cast in round 1 when I got, in round 2 when I got Stefon Diggs. Because normally I'll go running back, wide receiver. What's played out here is a series of catastrophic injuries and shakeups and just duds that I have not been able to properly recover from without doing heavy waiver and trading. So it's tough because normally when you do fantasy drafting for myself, Normally, running backs have been perceived as being extremely high value because there's very few that are, that pass run back, like Christian McCaffrey or back in the day, Le'Veon Bell. But generally, that more teams were doing bell cow running back. So there was a fall off of the first two, but after that, like if you got a third round, fourth round running back, you were still doing pretty good because they were running basically every single down. Okay, kind of like a oh shoot, yeah, he was running for the Bills. Who was that guy? Frank the Tank, Frank Gore. Kind of like Frank Gore. I mean, the dude was just good for 10, 15 carries a game. And he would just pound the rock, averaging 4.5 yards per carry, and he was solid, right? That is no longer the case. The era of the committee running back is now here, and I believe it's here to stay because teams don't like to pay a lot of money for an expensive running back. They would rather spend money for an expensive wide receiver. So you've got a lot of high-powered receivers out there. Their fantasy draft value has come down. It was inflated. Everyone thought Justin Jefferson was going to be putting up mad points. Yeah, you can't really take into account injuries, but all of these top-tier receivers have been putting up top-tier numbers, but the fall off for running backs has been destructive for teams that did not, like myself, that did not take a running back earlier in the draft. So we're going to look at the fall off here. It's important to notice the fall off. All right. Let's get into the data. So, love the data. This is ProFootballReference.com. Here are the top running backs by yards. You got Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift. Again, that was a bad move on my part. Derrick Henry, Raheem Mostert, and Kenny Walker, James Cook, and Bijan. So, but look at the fall. Look at the touchdowns. Okay, so you got CMC. Of course, he's great. Zach Moss, great. Okay, this is always a good number. If it's above 4.5, that's very, very good. If it's above 5, that's weirdly good. But then you look at touchdowns and a lot of the same names. And then you look at the attempts, very much the same names. But then it gets really weird down here. Okay, there's a big fall off once you get out of the top 4. Josh Jacobs does not belong in the top 4. Josh Jacobs is like way. See how that's just so gamed right there? Josh Jacobs has the most attempts, and he's still like, as far as yardage goes, just cannot put anything together. He's 18th. So the fall off for running backs, their value has been extreme. If you did not get one of these 4 or 5 running backs, you're toast. Okay? Because now you got guys barely breaking 6 touchdowns. You're going down the list. Basically no one has broken 6 touchdowns outside of the top 6 running backs. Okay. That's crazy. You've set your team up, especially in PPR, not to do so hot. Please learn from my mistakes. Don't draft like this next year. I'm never drafting wide receiver ever again. As long as I can play fantasy football, as long as it's in my veins, I will never do it again. But how do things change when you draft in a traditional format, either running back, wide receiver, or running back? Well, I'll get into that in a second, but first, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm here in the basement, concrete wall right next to me, insulation behind me. Adam's upstairs working. I should be working right now, but I'm recording a video. We're here at Fantasy Blitz to deliver no BS, just Blitz to help you do better in football and learn from our mistakes, but mostly learn from our alpha. So I'd appreciate comment on this video. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all you for coming to hang out. Let's get into the data. Here's my other league. So this is Fantasy Blitz. This is me. I'm in another league called the National Foosball Association. Now, this is a standard scoring. This is non-PPR, and it's a 2 QB league. But here I am. I'm 4-4. Okay, this is a highly competitive 2 QB league. A lot of these guys know what they're doing. I'm 4-4 in this league, and I'm feeling pretty good about it because, let's see. Oh, scoring leaders. Because my team has just been so gosh darn consistent. Actually, let's go look at my team right now. Let's look at my team. I barely had to touch these guys. Okay, had another dub last week. Appreciate it. Appreciate all my players. I've barely had to move these guys. Geno Smith, consistent. Derek Carr, kind of consistent, but I stream him. Joe Mixon, very consistent. Breece Hall popped off later. Terry McLaurin, kind of okay. KJ Osborne, fine. TJ Hawkinson, amazing. Brian Robinson, streaky and frustrating when I'm playing him this week. Matt Prater, fine. Falcons D has been surprisingly good. My other pick was Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they got Alexander Madison, who's been generally disappointing, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, good. Let's go and look. So basically, and I had Justin Jefferson. So my team has been consistent and consistently performing, which has kept me in the game, and I have not had to make a lot of Hail Mary moves. But let's look at how I drafted. Very, very different. What did I get? I had first pick, so I got Justin Jefferson. Next up, Joe Mixon. Okay, bell cow, one of the very few bell cow backs running the ball in Cincinnati, and I knew he was going to get a lot of work because Joe Burrow, was out at the beginning of the year. So who did I get next? I got a high-tier wide receiver. Who did I get after that? I got who we thought at the time was going to be the guy, Alexander Madison, running back in Minnesota. He's been kind of mid so far. After that, TJ Hawkinson, and then this was my third pick. I got Daniel Jones because I was just being foolish. But then I redeemed myself in round 7, picked up Breece Hall, which has been absolutely fantastic. Also thought I got an absolute steal with J.K. Dobbins. Again, injury, out for the season, may never play football again. But in those 1 or 2 games where he played, he was fantastic. I was feeling really good. Terry McLaurin has been pretty consistent. This was actually a good QB grab for round 10. Geno Smith, he's been fine. Jahan Dotson, total bust. Brian Robinson Jr., streaky. Zach Moss was a great get. Packers D was awful. And then Jason Myers. So notice the difference, okay? I was able to spread out the value of my team. I did not go all in on wide receivers. I spread it out across top-tier talent and top-tier running backs. That's the way to win because my team has been more consistent and I've had less guesswork to do about who's going to consistently get the ball. And how has that played out? Well, again, I'm 4-4. It's not great, but it is so much easier than my Fantasy Blitz League where I'm 1-6 or 2-6, and it's very sad. Okay. It's going to take a lot of legwork, going to take some crafty trading to get my team back in. I don't even think it's possible for me to win anymore, but it is possible for me to have a decent showing. But in my other league, definitely competitive, definitely in the mix. But learn from my mistakes. Don't buy the hype. Why did things change? Okay. Things changed because a bunch of running backs got hurt. Okay. Nick Chubb. And then basically the table got reset. J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, a couple others went down, and then the whole kind of chessboard got reset. And if you were all in on wide receivers and you picked your running backs late, the whole running back scene got changed around and your running backs lost value. Okay, generally lost value. And the teams are also just not keen on paying a lot of money for running backs anymore. So they want to spread around that player value because the thing is, running backs usually don't last that long in the NFL. Their careers are way shorter than a wide receiver because they are the guys who are taking most of the hits. Okay, they're the battering ram for the team. So they want to spread the risk around and they want to have running backs last longer. So they're doing a lot more committee running back systems. That has really knocked down the fantasy performance of running backs as a whole. You get a few of these bell cow backs, but other than that, outside of the top 4, you're toast. So, yeah, over-leveraged on wide receivers. And just so you're aware, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne Jr., Raheem Mostert, and Zach Moss, DeAndre Swift, all these guys are top 4. Alvin Kamara at 2, but once you get to like Kenny Walker, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a S show, as it were. So, don't buy into the hype next season. That's the takeaway, folks. Don't buy into the hype next season when you're looking at how should I draft? Should I take 2 wide receivers back to back? I don't think it's going to work out in your favor. I think the way the NFL is going now and just the nature of the game, running backs and the politics of the game and the budget of the game, running backs are going to be higher and higher fantasy value in the top 4, but then it's really going to be spread out once you get into the top 5 and lower, or the bottom, the 5 and lower in the scale. Wide receivers are going to continue to retain their value. I saw CD Lamb going as late as around 4 or 5 in some of these mock drafts I was doing. And CD Lamb has been nothing but fantastic. Actually, let's go ahead and look up CD Lamb real quick just for gigs. There he is. Look at how consistent this guy has been. Where's his game log? Come here. Amazing. Look at that. Amazing. 3 touchdowns, not that many touchdowns, but just the averages, the yardage, the targets kind of up and down, but still he's just putting in consistent points and you haven't really had to worry about him. Okay. And when Dak Prescott's going off, he's going off. And when he's kind of sad and lonely, he's sad and lonely. But I mean, 4 targets, 77 yards. Okay. I mean, he still balls out. He's the WR1. So that's the takeaway, folks. Blitzers. Got to be very judicious with your draft picks. Got to be very keen and aware. Don't buy into the hype. Don't buy into the FOMO. Don't be swooned by, Calvin Ridley preseason videos. Okay? Stick to the plan. Come up with a plan ahead of time. Stick to the plan. Read the room. Don't read the hype. I think that's all I got. I mean, we're going to go live. We go live every Tuesday and Thursdays. Doing Tuesday night waiver picks. Thursday, set your lineups. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Remember, Fantasy Blitz, no BS, just Blitz. I'm Nick. Appreciate it. Go for the dub.